Good morning, dear listener. A very brief trigger warning that we will be discussing very serious self-harm in parts of this episode.
Hello and welcome back to the Delve podcast. Today, we're talking about the male loneliness epidemic. I'm Allie. I'm a staff therapist here at Delve Psychotherapy of Chicago.
And I'm Adam. I'm the executive and clinical director at Delve Psychotherapy of Chicago.
Please help us spread the word. We're not trying for fame. We don't plan to run any ads on this podcast. So it's very listener friendly. We just want to add value and be helpful to as many people as possible. So please share with 2 friends or family members. Preferably people.
Strangers, send them to strangers. Just start handing out flyers on the sidewalk on our behalf. Be like, this might help you feel better or worse, but then healthier.
That would be above and beyond, and you would get a gold star.
There you go. That's our Patreon top level status. It's a gold star and our appreciation.
Knowing you did a good thing. We offer individual, couples, group, and family therapy. So if you're interested in our services, head over to delvepsych.com, delvepsych.com, and check out our Substack, delvepsych.substack.com. Some really great blog posts over there.
We don't have a Patreon, and I don't think we're going to get a Patreon. We don't have a Patreon. We're not doing that.
No, we're not going to make you pay for this content. Why would we do that?
No, come hang out with us. It's cool. That's part of the reason why you can sell it to other people is be like, they're not selling anything. They just want to help you.
Exactly.
I mean, I guess we are selling our services, but again, that goes back to we're only doing this because we want to help people.
Exactly.
I don't get to do this if I'm not paid for it, but I would do it all day, every day if I had my broader. Anyway, we should talk about universal basic income at some point. All right. Anyway.
Anywho, the topic today is the male loneliness epidemic. Maybe
this is your idea, right?
It is my idea. I'm wondering, mostly because I'm very curious about Adam's thoughts on this topic. It's a phrase I've heard before. It's a phrase that's come up in session with clients, and has been discussed. What is it? Why is it a thing? Is it a real thing? And if it's a real thing, what's going on? What's going on with the men in our society? And can we do something about it?
Well, I need to back up a couple of levels to make any of this at all appropriate, I think. But I think that Richard Reeves has talked about the idea. He wrote the book of Boys and Men. And he talks in the book very much about, as he was developing his materials and beginning his work, that almost any discussion of needs amongst men ran into the argument that we were either disparaging of, ignorant to, or discarding of the needs of other genders. So women and trans folk. So to talk about men is to not talk about women. It's to not talk about trans folk. And I think that that's a particularly challenging kind of framing. I suspect that many who prickle at the idea or scoff at the idea of a male loneliness epidemic are really only trying to say we cannot lose sight of the needs of women and trans folk. So there remain systemic inequalities, especially with respect to economic opportunity and physical safety, social freedoms, and access to power structures within our societies for women and for trans folk. Violence tends to be, women and trans folk tend to be much more often targets of very serious violence. Men fight each other for sure. That's absolutely a thing that happens, but women tend to be subject to violence that has happened to them by men. Trans folk tend to be the targets of violence that men have bestowed upon them. These inequities are not fixed. They have not gone anywhere. Sure, some progress has been made, but we still have major political inequities, economic inequities, and institutional inequities. What I mean by institutional inequities is like even within, let's say, like a job market or a college campus or something of that nature, there are still more opportunities for men at the highest reaches of those power structures than there are for other people. So by talking about men, we are not turning a blind eye to the needs of anyone else.
Right.
It's very, very, very important that we not do that.
Yes. And I think that's a great point because, yes, I feel like when this topic of male loneliness epidemic has kind of come up, the context is kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, men are the privileged ones in society. Like, oh, am I supposed to feel bad for them? Like, that sort of air about this whole topic.
Yeah.
And yes, while like men have a lot of privilege in our society, that is true. Does that mean that we don't get to care about them?
More to the point, or maybe not more to the point, but along with that point as well, when you look at rates of serious self-harm resulting in death by suicide, it's men that die by suicide. Women tend to attempt more often. Men tend to be successful. Well, there's another term for that. To actually die by suicide.
Right. Right.
So when men feel bad, there's such a dearth of perceived options and skills to bring to bear that very often we lose them. This is one of the leading causes of death for men of nearly any age, but certainly for younger men. And we're talking also teenagers. We're losing teenage boys. We're losing boys in their 20s. Again, that doesn't mean that we want to turn a blind eye to all of the other needs of other people at those ages.
Right.
But I don't think that as a society we intend for these kinds of losses to be sustained. And I think when we look at why a lot of that happens, as an institution, if you will, or as a segment of society, yes, men have power, but any individual man within a given context is probably not feeling that. So I think that some individual men have a lot of power and opportunity and are feeling the kind of the gifts of that privilege in a given moment. But when you actually look at the metrics for men, men's wages have been stagnating as well. Again, I'll say that doesn't mean that they're not higher than women. They are higher than women. So women's wages have been stagnating, but climbing a little bit. Men's wages are stagnating. Men's educational outputs, however, have been rapidly declining. And that's one of the places where, at this point, women in our society are more educated at every level. So perhaps not within every industry. There are still some inequities with respect to some STEM fields, but even there, we're starting to see far more women and trans folk in STEM fields. And the number of graduate students that identify as female or trans has rapidly expanded. The number of graduate students and graduating graduate students amongst men has rapidly declined. So a lot of this is discussed in Richard Reeves' book of Boys of Men, getting at, if you look at the raw numbers, men are struggling in society these days. That doesn't mean that other people aren't struggling too, but men are struggling in society these days in new ways.
Yeah, and that's so interesting. And do you think, I'm curious as to why they're struggling more these days? Is it because we are tending to other groups that certainly need to be tended to, like women and trans folk? And so because of that, inadvertently, we've sort of left them behind and forgotten about them and been like, nah, figure your ish out on your own. Like,
I think Reeves does a really nice job in his book of getting at the whys of it, and I do think a fair amount of it is the way that we've socially restructured. Liz Plank's book as well. I got to get the title of that book. It's excellent.
Okay.
For the Love of Men. Liz Plank kind of talks about more the kind of social and identity elements of it as well. But those two in tandem really outline that school doesn't work for boys in the way that it probably could. And some of the things that we might need to do to help them be more successful in school, we've just got kind of a social aversion to. The number one recommendation that Reeves makes in there is typically we should probably hold boys back by about a year. They tend to be a little bit cognitively, just a little bit slower to develop than girls. And when you hold boys back by about a year, they tend to be a little more successful. And it's so common too, as I'm around some like clients and family members that have kids, I keep hearing this phenomenon of like the boy's best friend is a girl from a year younger age, like the age bracket a year younger. They're in second grade. They've got their best friend is a girl from first grade. It's just like that social alignment is sort of just slightly akimbo. I do think that, as you kind of point out, there has been much of a social restructuring. I mean, a lot of the ways that men propped up their kind of doing welledness was through a lot of the inequities of the past generations. So if you take those away, if I'm not the head of the household, what is my purpose
anymore? Right. Yeah.
And I'm not saying we should go back.
Right. No, I wouldn't want that either. But yeah, the idea of like, yeah, if my wife is doing her own thing, has her own career, even making more money than I am, what am I doing? What am I providing for the family? What's my purpose? Am I even needed? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Very often wives are the ones that are making more money, further advanced in their careers. There is still that thing that happens in a lot of families, which is that if they usually if they have children, but that's not the only factor, then often just that little decision ends up making like delaying her career and leading to some of the inequities that parts of some of the inequities that then get bestowed upon families, but certainly upon women. And so, and I also want to zoom out and say, I think that the overall economic and social structures have just made everything hard on everyone. And some of the economic opportunities that we had from the 70s through 90s, if you will, or maybe even the noughties, are really reverting in some strange ways, that it's making all economic growth difficult for everyone. And then a social thing that can happen is that it's in the interests of those with power to pit us against one another.
Mm-hmm.
And if it can do that along social lines like gender, race, etc., well, that's very much good for the bottom line.
Yeah. So talking about this like aspect of men being lonely specifically, like being more socially isolated, not having many emotionally close friendships, if any. What are your thoughts on why that is for men? Why are men becoming more isolated and not having as many friendships?
I think that I wonder if it was always a problem. It was probably always a problem, but we've kind of recognized that there's a value to having these kinds of friendships. A working adult in the 70s or 80s isn't going to be worried about whether he's having emotionally rich conversations with his male friends. It's just not something that we valued. And now we start to value it, often because as we're we've recognized the value of emotional connection. One, two, I think that the generational struggle has made this all the more important for everyone. So that same person who was a working, dad in the 80s, not giving a shit about emotions whatsoever, now has a child who's trying to emotionally connect with them, and they're sitting there going like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, what?
What are you doing? What are you talking about? Vulnerable. I don't.
Yeah, like what?
And so there's that tension, and I see them a lot in therapy. It's the client with a dad that they're trying to connect to, or the dad saying like, I want to be close to my kids, but they seem pissed at me all the time. So there's that. So societally, I think we've just normalized emotional connection, 1. 2, but we still have not taught boys how to socially connect. There's still a systemic narrativization about what you're supposed to be, which is you need to get a good job, you need to not be a loser. What's one of the first things on most women's checklist for a romantic partner? Well, they have to have a good job and a 401k.
I was gonna say 401k. Yeah.
It's like, so you're telling me what my value is. My value is money. My value is not emotionality. I hear you. I'm learning.
But we do want a man who's emotionally intelligent.
So now I need to do both.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But nobody taught me the emotionally intelligent piece. They taught me the 401k piece.
Right. Because like, even though it's like tale as old as time, like I feel like the narrative that like boys should not be as sensitive or emotional as women and should just pull themselves up by their bootstraps and be strong, and if they're upset about something, get in a fist fight. That's that sort of narrative.
In Ted Lasso, I think there's a scene where at some point Roy, who's the quintessential like unemotionality guy, challenges oh my god, Jamie on something, and Jamie just starts crying, and Roy's response to that is to go, what the fuck? Look at that response, though. Look at that socialized, normalized response. It's like, if you display emotion, I'm gonna say, what the fuck is this? That is so weird. Now, we might still have a large reaction to someone of another gender crying, but are we gonna have that like, this is so wrong kind of reaction?
Right. Definitely. Yeah. And then I guess as far as friendships, like the female friendships that I have feel so emotionally deep and vulnerable, and I don't know if male friendships pale in comparison, or I know you've said that your friendships are pretty deep because of who you are, but
my boys, we got love for one another.
I wonder if it's still sort of the general, like, again, like this sort of zeitgeist of like, nah, like we're bros, we can't be like talking about our feelings with each other. I don't know.
I think there's a good bit of that for sure.
Yeah.
I see this most in the sports context, where certain conversations with certain guys, if you're getting into anything emotional, they're just like, can you just stop?
Can you not?
Yeah, very much that. But again, I think it goes back to all of the guys are listening to society, their dads, the economic structures around them, the social norms around them about what their value is. So you have let's say a heterosexual man who's 30 and you've never seen them with a romantic partner. What's some of the language that starts to get thrown out towards them?
Loser.
Right away, right? You lost it. You lost at life. You loser. You lost at life. So we're taught, okay, so then my value is I must have a romantic partner. I hear you. Now, how do I get a romantic partner? Well, being emotionally attuned doesn't do it. Being emotionally available doesn't do it. In fact, many times that's a detriment. being emotionally available is not as useful as you might think in the dating contexts. But having a 401k, that's good.
Yes, and I hate that like cuz I have seen it with my fellow female identifying people is like if a guy is too emotionally available or open or excited or even texts them back like frequently, they're like, "Ugh, like he's too eager." Like, what?
Yeah. And
No.
what if they were to get tearful about so I would say that things that are happening in the country right now are rather tense and precarious. Imagine if on a ninth date, the guy in the relationship is in a cishet relationship starts talking about what's happening in society at present, and they get a little tearful. Some people would say, okay, that's fine. But there's a fair few that would not. They'd be like, ooh, I don't like that.
Yeah, maybe some women would appreciate that. I feel like I would appreciate something like that.
You're a therapist.
But exactly, I'm the exception. But I can imagine women being like, oh, like he's supposed to be my strong, like man that's supposed to support me and lift me up. And he's like crying. What does that say about him and his ability to like support me, you know?
Yeah. I still get the narrative of I got to be strong for people. People tell me that I got to be strong. And I say respectfully, I decline. I'm not strong all the time. I'm not trying to be strong all the time. And you're welcome to be around me while I am weak. If you don't want to be, you're welcome to not be around me while I am weak. But I'm not going to kind of participate in this narrative of I must be strong. I'm not interested in that. But again, like I've developed that mentality over years of work on this thing. I see other guys being like, okay, I'll be strong. I have to have a wife. So I have to have a wife or I'm a loser. So I'll be strong. Get my
Yeah,
wife, I'll be strong. I'll get my 401k and then I'll be happy. And then I get them in therapy and they're still not happy.
and they're like, I did all the things. I was strong. I got my 401k. Yeah, that's big. That conclusion you came for to yourself of like, no, I don't have to be strong. I'm not going to be strong. I feel like most men are not comfortable with that for themselves.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and I think because imagine I do think this, I do say this, but in many ways I am weak, I am small, I'm vulnerable, and I'm scared. Right? Now those are true Adam thoughts. I really do feel that with respect to things that are happening here. I don't think a lot of men could say that.
No.
And why?
Because it's threatening to show any sort of weakness.
Yeah.
I think.
How are you under threat, or how is someone under threat in that context with me?
If a man shows any sort of like vulnerability or weakness or being scared about something, I guess I wonder if the narrative is like you're less of a man.
Right. Yeah.
And that's
Absolutely.
just threatening to their whole identity and I mean, general, you know, like, okay, if I'm less of a man, then I can't get the CEO job, then I can't get the wife, and you know, like
exactly. Ooh. Well, and I have employees too, right? So if I'm scared, they're sitting there saying like, well, then why the fuck am I trusting you? It's like,
yes, yeah. Ugh.
But scared is real and reasonable, and so we deny ourselves these realities in order to perform in the ways that we're taught to be able to perform, solely for the sake of optics. And then you think about what it takes to really feel connected to other people. Well, you need to be seen. So you have this simultaneity of I need to be seen in my reality, in my real kind of approach and my real experience, but I'm taught to squelch all of it. I can't be weak. I can't be scared.
Yeah. Yeah.
No wonder we're lonely. we're not the only ones that are lonely. Everybody's lonely, but I think that we're seeing it amongst men, especially because there's a little bit less polish in building those emotionally rich. There's less willingness too, building those emotionally rich male friendships.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is like an oversimplification of this, but so I've heard this somewhere where it's like when female friends get together, they're sitting facing each other. When male friends get together, they're turned away from each other, both looking at like a screen or a game of some sort and sitting side by side and talking that way.
Often.
And it's just, I feel like a good metaphor of just like the depth of the friendships, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like the men have to have something else going on. Like, oh, we're getting together to watch a sport. We're getting together to do this thing versus like, I don't know, my experience is like with female friendships is like, you want to just come over and like chat and like talk about our feelings? Like,
well, and let's also say if you and a girlfriend were getting together to watch a movie, and it's just the two of you, and it's like a cold kind of wintry Chicago day, there's a fair chance that the two of you might like cuddle up under a blanket together and actually be physically close with one another. You might cuddle with a girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Me and my buddy Jordan are not doing that.
Why not, Adam? Why not?
Right. Well, there's that whole kind of internalized homophobia of the yesteryear as well. Those are the insults we heard as a child. So, don't be gay. It's like, what the fuck? What does it matter? That's still internalized.
That runs so deep,
right.
For sure. And yeah, and I think it is interesting because it's like me and my friend that's a girl, us cuddling like that doesn't take away anything from my womanhood. But I feel like the way that our culture sees this is if two men that are friends are, cuddling, watching a movie, it takes away something from their manhood. So it's more threatening in that way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did go on a trip with, I actually traveled a lot with one male friend in particular. And if you were traveling with that same female friend and there's like the option for one king bed or maybe even one queen bed in a hotel room, fine. Who cares?
Not a problem.
Save the money. Yeah, not a problem at all. But for men, it very much will be like, no, we have to have two beds. And I will say with one male friend in particular, there was a time when the only option was that we were going to share a queen air mattress. And he was quite the intimate sleeper. He like came all the way to the middle of the bed and his face was like right here. And there's a part of me that's sort of like, hey, man, what's up?
Oh, you guys got real close that trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
but there's that internalized like weirdness, right? It's a little weird.
It is, and it's yeah. Just such internalized messages from our culture and society that just run so deep. I also, one last thing that I was thinking of is you showed me that male dog park sketch on SNL.
So good.
The
and man
it's so,
park.
Yes, it's so good. Oh my God, check it out, please, if you haven't. But it's so true that like, so basically the sketch is like this guy is in a a serious long-term relationship with this woman, and this woman has become everything: the best friend, the partner, maybe even the mom a bit too. And this guy has no friends. It's like once he's gotten into this serious relationship, it's like, why do I need anything else? I don't like, what do you mean? Like, I get everything from my girlfriend, which is so much on the girlfriend, too much on the girlfriend. So she brings him to this man dog park where all these men can meet each other and play. And so good.
It's so good. Yeah. But we see it there, right? Like that
so real.
men's friendships tend to decline the deeper they get into a romantic relationship, and women's tend not to as much.
Yeah.
I think these days even that's starting to change a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But this is partly where I think about like the goals, needs, values becomes really important. If friendships are a value of you for you, and I suggest that they should be, then no matter how much fun you're having with your partner, no matter how close your relationship, no matter how good all of those sides of things are, no matter how comfortable you are together, how much you enjoy spending time with each other, get outside. You have to develop your other relationships. And I very, very, very often, I'm thinking of 2, 3, 4 guys on my caseload right now where my guidance to them repeatedly has been, I'm so glad that your marriage is going well. Go make friends.
Go make friends.
You have to work on that side of things. What happens if she's the one who's sick? Who are you going to turn to? You know, let's say she gets a really bad diagnosis and you're now the primary supporter.
Yeah.
You keep thinking, oh, well, if I need something, I'll go to her. What if she needs something from you and she can't?
Right.
What if she gets injured? What if she dies in a plane crash? Where are your people? You cannot just have a romantic partner. You have to have everyone else. Call your friends.
Yeah.
Do it. I don't care whether it's weird. I'll say, well, I can't just randomly call Pete. Do it.
Why not? Sure you can.
There'll be a couple of odd moments on the phone where he's like, what? Like, do you need, are you getting married?
Do you need
What's
something?
up?
Yeah.
And then you say, no, I just miss you, man.
Yeah.
I dare you. Just do it.
I double dog dare you. Well, this has been a great discussion on the male loneliness epidemic. Yeah, some good insight. I've really enjoyed hearing your perspective on this topic. I knew you had read some books on this. I just had a feeling.
Yeah, just to name those again, Richard Reeves of Boys and Men Lives Planks. God damn it. I keep forgetting the title.
For the Love of Men?
For the Love of Men, yes.
Okay.
I think it's so close to Richard Reeves' title that I consistently forget it, but both are very, very good.
Yes. All right. New quote on the board. You are responsible. Okay, one more time. You are responsible for your envy. Okay, I'm just going to take a first pass at this. If you're envious of something that someone else has, that's a signal to you that there's something that you want in your life that they have. And now you can't take the thing that they have specifically, but you can go after that thing yourself in your own life.
Yeah, and I think that in addition to that, there is this kind of way that people talk about their envy, the not havingness, that just feels so defeated. I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have this, I don't have that. It's like, well, you're responsible to go get your version of that one, but you're also responsible to not just fling that at other people willy-nilly. It's not society's fault that you're envious, and it's not the person in front of you's responsibility to stop you from feeling envy. So you got to decide what your relationship with envy is going to be. One alternative approach to that is to say they have it and I don't, and you can go, ah, shit, that sucks. I'm going to feel bad about that. That's okay. But I shouldn't feel bad about it. And I'm going to tell everybody, and I'm going to make it everybody's problem that I'm envious and that I don't have the having. That's not cool. So it's yours to manage. And if you're talking to other people about it, then you need to talk to them in a way that is like a part of your working on the envy, not just a dumping on them that you have this envy.
Yeah, I could also imagine the envious person in an unhealthy way taking out that envy on the person they're envious of, like almost trying to make it so that the other person like has to apologize to them for what they have. I don't know. I guess the example I think of in my head is like maybe there's a group of girlfriends and one of the girls in the group has just had a really, really hard time dating and has not had any luck, hasn't had a partner in several years. And one of the girls in the group got engaged. And like the girl that's perpetually single is super envious and like takes out that envy on the girl that just got engaged, like passive aggressively.
Mm.
I could see something like that happening, and it's like it's not the person who got engaged's fault.
Right. Yeah, I want you to be a part of my life. I want to share this joy with you. I'm sorry that it does rub up against something of a need for you, but at the same time, you're my friend. Be here for me and with me. I've heard of a similar circumstance in which, because a lot of people are going through with fertility treatments right now. I'm working with a lot of couples and individuals who are in that world. And so there's inevitably this kind of mixing of people that are having success on that front and having children and others who are still toiling and struggling.
Yeah.
So what do you do? You know, and I've seen it handled in a variety of ways. I think one of the better approaches I've seen is, let's say, hey, we're having this baby shower. I know that the fact that we're moving forward with this when it's also something that you want and you've struggled with is a huge stressor and strain for you. And I understand if you're in your assessment, the degree to which this is upsetting is excess to the degree to which we want you there for our joys. At the same time, we want you there. And so if you're wondering what we want you here and celebrating with us. Yeah. We're not ignorant to the difficulty that you have. And if in your estimation, it's just too big of an ask for you, then we accept that you can't come.
I like that because it like validates and is aware of how the other person is feeling. Like this is your friend and you know that they've been struggling. And so validating that piece, but then also like, you know, saying like, hey, I do love you and I do want you there if you're up for it, you know.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. We did it.
We solved the male loneliness epidemic.
Oh, I wish. As always, if you're interested in our services, we offer individual, couples, group, and family therapy. Head on over to delvpsych.com. That's DELVEPSYCH.com. And check out our Substack at delvpsych.substack.com. Until next time.
Peace.
Bye.